So hello and welcome to the Donny Chaingang with me, Matt Payne. We're live from the Full Speed Events studio once again down here in the old beer cellar, and we are back with another Donny Chaingang. It's ride 5, I think, if I remember correctly, of December, in fact. And we've got 3 Chaingangs this week. We've got today's Donny Chaingang, the Open Chaingang for all riders, the same on Thursday, and on Wednesday we have the, where else would you have, the Women's Only Wednesday Donny Chaingang. We've got some great routes lined up. We've got some classics, including tonight, Sand and Sequoias, and some new routes, brand new route coming on Thursday from Russ's little black book of amazing routes to ride. That is a title that you can put out there and match Jimmy Allen, in fact, in his book titles overall. The riders are lined up and ready to go. We're on a couple of minutes to start, so let's have a quick run through where we're going. We are going out with Russ as our yellow beacon. He's lined up ready to go, already messaging people. We're on Sand and Sequoia, so it's a long leading 2.4k, 2 laps of the circuit, and we finish at the Fuego Flats Rock Arch that we've used for so many of the rides. Key to this, though, is that we go through the Sequoias and make our way up over Titan's Grove. As you can see, our blue dot is doing twice, and that makes things a little bit interesting. So through the red on the warm-up, through the orange sprint in, then we go out on 2 full laps from the Rock Arch, returning to that Rock Arch on the way out and around, and that brings us back in to the finishing arch once again. Russ calling the shots, making sure that all of our riders are going in the right direction at the right time, at the right pace. The man who is sweeping is going to be Lord Greg Pillsworth himself, a lord of all things Red Beacon today. He is in charge of making sure everybody follows the rules. Please make sure that when you go off the back, if he needs your help in bringing people back, please go help him if you're one of our strong riders. If you need help, please tell him. And if you're just going to drop off the back and you don't want him to give you any assistance, let him know. Communication, as in all things in life, is key. So please, guys, make sure you communicate with Russ and with Greg. They are there to look after you. If you're not watching this live, it's a lesson for next time. Why are you not jumping on the Chaingang live? That's exactly what we want. Now, we're going to go across from our Zwift Hacks map. Big thank you to the team there. Across to our Velo Viewer profile. And as you can see, this really is a course of 2 halves, unlike England football, which is just rubbish both ways through. And you can see, as you go and head out, we have our flatter section. And that is essentially going around this course, because remember, we go around this in a clockwise direction. So we run out and around the flat section first. We then do the hilly section to come in. We finish at the point essentially where it's about 19 meters in height, so dead central on the lower section on the way through. So please, guys, make sure that you keep it together whilst Russ is holding it together. When the go, go, go is given by our yellow beacon Russ, then please, guys, make sure that you follow the instructions of Russ and ramp up. Stay with them, and don't forget, of course, that once that go happens, it's about getting to that end in the best state you can. It takes some doing. Now, don't forget, this is all about making sure that you get a great ride, and so that means following the instructions of our riders is key. We're going to roll out with the Terminator 2.0. You can tell I've been doing the graphics for the Web DCG today as well. This is Tracy Seeley, but if we hop up into the skies, you'll be able to keep an eye on our riders coming out. I think most of our riders making the way out from that start pens. We're just going to take a little bit of a check back on there. So don't forget, if you don't get out with the group, make sure that you jump in. If you've got more than 20 seconds between you and the main group, then guys, we need you to jump out and jump back in again, because that will drop you back into the ride. So let's work our way back. It looks like Mr. Curran are going to have to put some serious pace on. Already 24 seconds down on our leaders. Dale Williams, a man who we know can get himself back in there. But as a heads up, guys, if you don't get back in quick, and you can see that yellow beacon up there, then you are going to need to be out and in. Greg, you've got quite a number of riders behind. I know that Greg will be watching live at the moment. So we are going to just try and keep an eye on our last 2 riders. It's going to be Ed Curran and Dale Williams. They're our last two. Don't forget, of course, once we go to cover the 92 riders at the moment, if you go over the 100 rider mark, you won't be able to see the front and the back. Your limits will be the beacons and the nearest 100 riders. So just taking a look, we're going to ignore anybody who's just jumping in because they're probably going to come straight back into the pens. Paul Simonite from Sitwell, one of our regulars. So Ed Curran and Dale Williams just charging the way up there. I think, Paul, you might want to give it a bit of a boot to get back in with the gang. I'm not sure I'd wait for this express train. They've been coming at about 3.5 to 4 watts per kilo pretty swiftly. So really key to get yourselves back in with the gang. And let's get the gang rolling out all together now. Just taking a little bit of a look up at that group. I'm just struggling to see our red beacon having a red beacon up above his head. This is Greg Pillsworth. Now, it looks to me like Greg Son's red beacon over his head. So the man you need to look out for is this man. It's Greg Pillsworth. His lordship himself eschewing the red chevron. Let's have a little look. And our riders are on the way up towards the group. Now, it could be that it's our screens that are just having a bit of an interesting moment. So we're going to just jump back out and just run back in and see if we can pick Greg up. No, we can't. So looks like those riders just starting to come back together again. A quick reminder, if you do get dropped out in the early stages, if you're having technical issues, jump out and jump back in once again. Absolutely key, because it allows our beacons, our riders, to know that you're going to be in there without having to chase back for you. It is really, really key. If you think you've got the power and the pace to get back in, then do so. But we always suggest for the first half an hour that if you get more than 20 seconds behind that lead group, that you make sure you get it sorted by jumping out and jumping back in. So it looks like everybody can see the red beacon but us. That's really entertaining. That's going to make my life really easy. Fortunately, Greg Pillsworth is definitely on my favourites list. He always has been, always will be, because he's one of our regular red beacons. As is John Garfoot, who we are in with right now. Let's have a little look. Here we go. So, John Garfoot, Royal Navy, Royal Marine, tucked in nicely in here. Now, whilst we've got the gang just getting itself together and getting itself sorted, a couple of bits of note-taking as we make our way in towards the archway. This is your start-finish line, ladies and gentlemen, of your laps. Matt Nunn, if you're on, Matt, I'll leave it to you to call it. But we are just going through our start-finish line. So, Mr. Dunn, reliant on him to tell everybody, start-finish that archway. You will get another dress rehearsal before you reach it as your finishing line. We have lots of things heading your direction. Russ has called it. 2 laps to go. There you go. It is going to be heading your way because we have 2 lines where you're going to get power-ups. That means that you should get 4 before you hit the finish. And that is going to be at the top of Titan's Grove as well as on the way through as you go on to the bottom section. Can the fattest catch? Oh, yes. On here, this section, this is one of those routes where the bigger riders get a real advantage on downhill, particularly if they have an anvil on the way through. So just taking a look at the back of that group, still just rolling its way around. Our regulars all on board by the look of it. Mr. Wallace and Mr. Hagger. Tom, come on, mate. What are you doing off the back? Not like you. So Tom Hagger, another of our regular riders, just pushing on a little bit at the moment, just going to get himself back into the group. And I thought last week's routes really suited him. There was a lot of people using the routes and having a really good ride, actually. I was really impressed, with the routes in the new part of Mercury Islands, as well, of course, as how people rode them. It was really interesting, really entertaining as well. Now, we've got another new route coming up on the way through. One of the things I would say is, guys, make sure that you get a heads up on where you're going. If you can, if you're a member of DCG Gang, you will have that on the way through. Really is key to know where you're going, to certainly at least find out where the finish line is. So last week we did have a number of people having issues with getting booted out over a couple of seconds into the ride. Repeated attempts to get back in. It seemed to happen mostly when the update was installing midway through. So you had numbers of people with and without it. So if you got an installed and you just done an update, do that. One of the cures apparently is to uninstall and reinstall, which is a big job, but you do at least have a further 23 minutes to do that on the way through before it becomes an issue. Loving the conversations in here, all about how warm or otherwise it is in people's pain caves. If you want cold, we were recording the Crosscast yesterday. The next episode of the Crosscast is going to be coming out to you later on this week. We have an amazing guest on there, and really great to catch up with them. Neil and myself and our guest host, we were talking about the Val di Sole round of the World Cup. I'll tell you something, it's cold. When we were recording, it was minus 13 in Val di Sole. Not where we were recording. The studio was roasty toasty. It was very nice, and it was made even more pleasant by the fact, of course, that the gang in Val di Sole were probably going to be finding it just a little bit colder when they go out there and race the snow cover as well. So if, like Freya, my daughter, you're going to be going out snowboarding soon or skiing, then make sure that you get yourself some warm gear. You're going to need it, believe me. So here we go. Riders on the way through. The gang looking good. We've been in with Mr. Hager for a while. We'll jump in with Rab. We'll just work our way past Ian Bale. Just going to have a little bit of a run back towards the back of the gang. Looks like Mr. Pillsworth doing another great job here. Interesting to see some of the conversations there about the updates and about getting back on. 5 goes. It took a couple of people, so we'll see. Right, time to set up in the living room, Russ. Dale, he hasn't got as big a screen in his living room as he has in the pain cave, to be honest. Is it big coat weather up north yet? No, not at all. While I was out building trails, new trails coming to Parkwood in Sheffield. Some new mountain bike trails that are going in there. He's been working there. No surprises, he had a T-shirt on doing that. In fact, he rode in Steely's set of trousers and a T-shirt 2 days. Definitely not cold enough for a big coat up north. I love the fact Simon Runnett owns a cardigan. Simon Runnett nearly put his cardigan on the other day. Cardigan? Named after Lord Cardigan, to be honest. Bit like the sandwich named after Lord Sandwich. Yeah, today's random fact. So taking a little bit of a look, looks like at least one rider just off the back. That looks like Mr. Levers. You might need to put a squeeze on, buddy. So it looks like just distanced out the back there. Greg, no doubt keeping an eye on this, just seeing how quick he's closing, making a little bit of a judgment on that as the riders come in. So a couple of bits to tell you about. It is, of course, DCG Gang members' favourite month. It's December, and because it's December, 1080 and Oakley are looking after our riders once again. No surprises there, to be honest. But what is always good news is that our riders will know that we have a giveaway, and that giveaway is going to be 3 pairs, not 1, not 2, but 3 pairs of custom Oakleys of any design you want. So you can have on it, I love the DCG. You can have on it, go, go, go. You can put on it, 1080 is the best store ever.com. Anything that you want on there, you can put on there. So please, guys, make sure that you put it in and make sure that you join up to the gang. That cutoff will happen during this week, actually. You've got 2 days left to join the gang before that cutoff comes in. You won't be eligible for the giveaway. At the moment, it's great odds of actually getting hold of one of these 3 pairs if you're a member of the DCG gang. It's how we say thank you to those people who donate. Great to have people in and watching for the first time. Mr. Murphy on his first time watching with commentary. Guaranteed way to get a name check on the way through. So, Barry, welcome, mate. Good to have you on board. Barry at the moment, 121 revs per minute. 121 beats per minute. 75 revs per minute. A little bit more cadence and it keeps on picking that up, I hope. And, of course, 165 watts, so tucked nicely in the bunch. Let's have a little look. So here we are in the Wahoo kit there. Let's see if we can get a face shot on the way through. Not always easy when we're in the bunch, but there you go. So looks like Barry tucks it nicely on that Tron bike, on the yellow Tron, just ensconced right in the middle of the bunch. So our riders heading out on lap number 1. So our riders heading out. Russ just updating everybody on Stormy Norman, the young Downing, the youngest Downing to join the family and the clan. And the fact he's into everything and doesn't sleep, mate, I sympathise for you. Freya, my daughter, spent the first 2 years sleeping for about, on average, an hour at a time, and generally required 5 hours sleep a day. So generally it was a complete and utter pain in the posterior for keeping us awake. However, now, like the average teenager, is hard to drag out of bed except when it's something they want to do. No surprises there. So, Russ, it does get better, I promise you. So let's have a little look. Russ tucks in here. I'm just going to try and get to Russ. It's not as easy. So let's take a little bit of a check. It is 139 watts for Russ. 94 beats per minute. You must be talking, texting, messaging. So Russ, of course, in the distinctive Downing Cycling Coaching Works kit. The grey and green. Gone, interestingly, for a set of intermediate wheels here. Not super deep, not super aero, but not super lightweight. So let's have a look at Russ. Just looking pretty good as he comes through. Just keeping tucked into this group nicely. And as we come in and through. Looks like Neil from the Crosscast has managed to get himself in. So, Neil, good to have you back in and with us. That might be the world's fastest update. Good to see we've got some more returning riders. This is going to be, I think, Sarah Luthwaite, if I've got the right rider. It's always entertaining whilst I try and remember everybody. It's Sarah. So Sarah in here, riding the grey and blue kit. Another of our returning riders once again. A Synergy rider in the mixed dove kit. Of course, we've got WOW DCG tomorrow as well. So Sarah in here. In terms of our female riders, I know we've got Tiff in here. Tiff Fletcher, that almost goes without saying that the addict is on board. Along with our regulars people like Tracy as well. So Terminator on board. Now, just going to take a little bit of a run towards the back of this group. Just got a little bit of an interesting shape to the bunch as it goes through, with one or two people just a little bit further back. People like Finley Hudson, we know he's got more than enough pace, so has Tom Crapper. Jimmy just sitting back here, Greg Pills with the company. He's got Tom Lindley and Andy Watson in here as well. It's Mr. Raccoon, and we are just going to run out of these guys. So it looks like interesting moments as the group comes around in a fold in the map, and those riders just disappearing and reappearing. Let's put it this way, we do know it's definitely not our internet. The speed of the internet here is ridiculous. Scary, scary, fast and scary, scary, wide bandwidth. So, Mr. Hudson in here, Colin Lynch tucked on board as we start to head out from the world of Neon at the moment. And we're going to be taking the right-hand turn here. So taking that right hand, following the road round to the right rather than going round the loop that we do on Tempest Fuji, which means it's not going to be that far. Going up in towards what is the climb for the first time. Now, here it is going to be key for the riders to stay super smooth and close to our yellow beacon. Really, really critical that our riders do that, because as you come up here, it is super key to make sure that you can stay with our yellow beacon. So still in the tucked in here. Let's see how they're rolling on the way up the hillside. So let's take a little bit of a check. The back of this group nicely sitting behind our riders. Just going to pull the camera down on Greg there. So key here, guys. Remember, keep an eye on where our riders are. Make sure you know where all of them are, and make sure you know where, most importantly, the yellow beacon is. That is your marker. That's what you're aiming for on the way through. So trying not to drift our red beacon off the back. Try and keep close to the yellow beacon. That is really, really critical. So I think a little bit of rounders talk on the message board at the moment. People clearly really bored and wanting to go to sleep, talking about rounders as they start to make their way up on to the climb. So just keeping a check. Remember, guys, it's all about making sure you push on now. Try and get yourself up nice and close. Bedtime's on cricket, yeah, exactly. Yeah, crickets are things that jump about in the grass. The only appropriate use of the word, really, to be honest. Certainly one who's watched a test match or two in his time. So the Swift Gremlin's in his feed for Mr. Runner. Do you know what, mate? They're in a few people's tonight. Always the way when there is a big update rolled out. You've got to remember that the games, the platforms are always updating. It's a feature of all esports platforms. It doesn't matter what you are playing, whether it's a shoot mode, whether it's a flight simulator, whether you are running on Zwift. Those updates do make a difference, and it does take time to fine-tune them in. Getting them perfect every time is just about impossible, given the complexity of what we're playing. If somebody had told you, even maybe 10 years ago, that you'd be riding with a whole bunch of people from around the world on a Chaingang, of virtually going through sequoia trees 1 minute, through deserts the next, seeing dinosaurs right the way through to your best mate and some real superstars of the sport, you wouldn't have believed them. Now, you certainly can, and it happens every week. So amazing. So have to give the teams who put these together very, very bright cookies at all of the esports companies. It's very rare you get a bad one. So really interesting to see. Sounds like Wales. Nope. Wales is just wet, mate, and closed. Traumatised as kids. I say that, but I absolutely love the place, and I love going down. And it's got some of the best mountain bike trail centres ever.com. Some great mountains, some great walking, some great sitting on the beach. So a couple of good festivals I've been to there as well. And some amazing steam trains. There you go. I can do my own side a little bit. Brilliant steam trains in Wales. Little steam railways all over the place. I could bore you about that, just like people bore me with cricket. Sorry, rounders. Sorry, cricket. Right. In with 80 at the moment. A couple of interesting to see a couple of anvils being used where they're not going to be particularly effective. I think to try and make sure that they don't drop riders off the back of the bunch. Looks like the group is all together. Good to see that we've got Karen Brooks in here from the Fear squad. The fifth team regulars on the WoW DCG as well. And Karen tucks in nicely here. So just taking a check on our riders. The group looks pretty good at the moment. Our yellow beacon jumping, dropping it in and out for us, and I'm sure probably for a number of you. We are subject quite often to the same things you are, and the only thing that we do know is it's not going to be the setup here pretty much, given what we're running on. Got to say a big thank you to everybody who helps us out with the tech over the years and with the kit. It has been a massive, massive help, that's for certain. So Mr. Pillsworth at the moment with looks like Paul Malin and Ed Curran for company as the group comes up through the Titan's Grove, steadily climbing. Anybody still cold? No, not even down here in the studio, even though we've got all the doors wide open trying to heat the house with the studio, which is possible, believe me. So as the Raptors go one way, and then the looks like Jimmy just on the ascent up. So Mr. Harmer's flag, apparently pretty cool. He's not wrong there. I'll tell you what it is if I think hard enough about it. So it is from the Cocos Islands, which is also known as the Keeling Islands. Is the flag, so Benjamin Harmer's flag from the Cocos Islands. The Keeling Islands as they've been known previously. If you're really lucky, we might even be able to tell you a little bit more about them in a little while. Well, looks like we are getting some serious gremlins in the machine, as you can see. Entertaining as we go through. So Cocos Island is Keeling's Cocos Ealing Islands. Basically are in Malaysia. So they're an Australian external territory in the Indian Ocean. Not to be confused with Cocos Island, which is actually off the coast of Costa Rica. So about 350 miles off the coast of Costa Rica is the Cocos Islands, but the Cocos Islands, plural, actually is the islands that are in the Indian Ocean, and they are an external territory for Australia. Basically a small archipelago about midway between Sri Lanka and Australia, for those of you who've got some kind of visual memory of it. Think idyllic palms, beaches, trees, looking very, very nice indeed, and be very interesting to see how it is, but very different, the Cocos Islands and the Cocos Island. There you go. Any other facts, just shout. Google's a wonderful thing. Isn't it really sad that I knew one of them was there, but I wasn't certain it was the only one, so I did check. Deary me. Don't think there's ever been an athlete from the Cocos Islands compete in a World Cup. There you go. That's a random fact. And I'm pretty sure there aren't much roads around the Cocos Keeling Islands. You can go ride though. You can even hire a bike. Tell you something, it's warm. Never drops below 24 degrees there. Anyway, enough of the geography. Sure, plenty of people like Tom have been doing that at school at some point during the day. I love the fact that Vin Donoghue has covered music. Someone needs to choose a random flag each week for Matt, and then I can admit to how little I know or how much I do know about them. Definitely. So, back to the ride, coming up to the top of the climb. Let's get the camera rolling with the helicopter shot on there. So, we're going to try and get a view. There we go. 1 or 2 people just off the back. Guys, you need to squeeze on, like basically now. Because otherwise you're going to get distanced off the back of the pack. So tight squeeze on. If you're a rider off the back, you are currently risking being dropped off. So we need to touch some cake off signs. That's because I'm going. So let's have a little bit of a look. Let's get that drone cam up in the air. So remember, the descent is going to start to spread things out here. Keeping as a group is key to hold the riders together. Interesting to see, we've got a number of people bending down those, putting down the anvils, just using them on the way down now. That'll be a very handy one to have when you go over the top next time round, because of course, remember, when we hit the line, we are going to be on 1 lap to go, but that is going to be when we get down to the Fuego Flats sprint sign. Long way to go before we get down there. So Greg having to do a bit of work there. Looks like a few people on the way in. The anvil choppers are off. Yeah, indeed. Why not keep the anvil? Well, you could indeed keep the anvil all the way round and do another lap with it. But a number of people probably will be hoping to get something more useful on the ascent, because more people get dropped on the ascent than do on the descents. It's not unheard of to get dropped on the descents, but it is pretty key on to have something light. So just in with Mr. Pillsworth and Mr. Wallace, chasing on. Simon Oxon just in front, actually. Simon, another rider who should know better than getting dropped on a downhill. Experienced rider. Simon, of course, a massive supporter of cycling as well. Good to see Simon continue to push back in, and one of our regular riders on the Chaingang as well. And just behind Radcliffe at the moment, and just trying to close on the gap. Brett Dowtree, and he can see Brett on board. Good to have you on board and back with us again, Brett. Another of our regular riders on the gang, and good to have Greg on board. So Neil from the Crosscast, not showing any ill effects of not being able to log on, stroke spending 2 hours talking with me on the Crosscast. He's probably been into therapy on the way through. Just making his way up on to the climb section here. You can see actually in the worlds on the top right hand side of the map just how close it is. In the virtual world, the line between the desert and the jungle, not blurred as you go over that ridge line, they're in one or the other as you go in and through. So this group working at pace at the moment, certainly absolutely flying on the way down here. Just riding in on board as you come dropping down with Hayden Davis. So our riders just a little strung out at the moment, long thin line. The yellow beacon just at the back of this group. Russ won't push on and chase people on the way down here, that's for certain. Going to be just making sure everybody stays together. So at the moment, Finley, Greg, Russ, our red and yellow beacons together. So good to see Finley doing some turns back here, just helping out at the back. Remember, the more people that help in a group that have been distanced, the quicker it will get there. This group moving at a fair old pace. Finley, don't get distance going back to help, mate. Make sure you're right on the ball here. You can't afford to ease off, particularly if Russ decides to put a really big squeeze to get back on. I know Finley's fast, but moving his way up here, giving a turn in here to get back on. So Mr. Mason just holding at the back. Finley's bike looks cool. It does. I'm very impressed. It's very candy cane. I like his skin suit better, to be honest. I think the Cape Epic jersey and outfit is one of the best bits of kit on the way through. Very easy for us to spot when we're commentating and talking about the riding as well. Now, it looks to me like Chris Canham. Is Chris in just a different bit of kit today? He's in the Mondrian kit. He's doing a Jimmy Allen, actually, because Jimmy, if we get hold of Jimmy, who's back here somewhere, Jimmy also in exactly the same Mondrian kit, just a little bit difference in size, but it looks like plenty of people just coming back to help Russ. Now, Finley, you're going to have to work like a loon now, mate, because you're getting dropped. You's being dropped, you is. Time to give it some pace. You're going to need breadcrumbs at the moment. Finley, the youngster, who went back to help, being distanced. He's one of our lighter riders. That's one of the reasons why Russ struggles on downhills. Here we go. I'm loving the arguments. I put a formal complaint in. Excellent. Well done. Let's see. As going a formal complaint going in about the matching kit from Jimmy. Mr. Hudson at the moment is the rider who's gone back. Bit mean dropping a youngster who went back to help, and a lightweight on the descent. Although I'm sure on the climbs he can get his own back. But now this is where those lighter riders are going to have an interesting time, because no matter what they put out, they're going to struggle to jump in. I think we've missed the cut-off for going out and coming back in again here. So looks to me like we've got Mr. Pillsworth at the moment just waiting for Finley. Finley, if you're jumping up off, let us know, mate, and do it quick. Chris, you're built like a tank, mate. Slightly bigger than Jimmy I'm a Whippet Allen. So it's like Finley Hudson has jumped right off, which means now that Greg Pillsworth has got to chase down. He's got about 30 metres on his way. So let's have a little look. Greg is on his way back. So here we go. Looks like Finn dropped out of the game there. So Keith Richardson going back to help Greg on the way through. Panzer or Tiger. I was thinking more Sherman tank, to be honest. Chest like that, Sherman tank. Matt Crease just coming back there and going off the back. Greg just trying to stay on the wheel of Keith Allen at the moment. Yeah, Sherman tanks are good, mate. So Chris is kind of up there. Looking forward to seeing one. I'm going to go see one in flesh. Not a moving one, but a memorial one out at Hoogerheide, because confirmed today, got my flights confirmed, that going to be doing the world feed for Hoogerheide. Also going to be covering the world feed, so that's basically the commentary going out worldwide to areas that aren't protected. So the UK and Europe, basically, you're not going to get me. You can hide away from me for the Cyclocross World Cups and all of the end of the 22-23 season is going to be covered by me. So that is going to be the racing that is going to be coming out. Basically, the from De Kuil at Zonhoven, the World Cup at Zonhoven, the World Cup at the Barcelona at Besançon as well, and I'm going to be at Hoogerheide in the flesh. So 3 remote commentaries plus going to be in the flesh at Hoogerheide. Now, going to be seeing there is a memorial Sherman tank at Hoogerheide, so I'm going to be going to make sure I take a quick look, pay my respects at the memorial there. Manon, hoping you're good to go. Excellent. Give me a wave in the commentary box. If in doubt, throw coffee. It's going to be very cold. I can guarantee it. Been to Hoogerheide a number of times. It is absolutely cracking. It's not actually my favourite race route, I have to be honest. It isn't. But it always produces good racing. Bit like when we go do courses. And don't forget, of course, you can download the Crosscast. The new episode about to come out. Neil's going to be busy editing that over the next few days. We had so much of a laugh. I think it's meant that Neil's got a little bit more editing to do than necessarily normal, but such is the perils of Neil being the boss. Right, let's take a look at the group. Nobody in front of Russ for a change. Who's off the front? It's Russ! No, he isn't. He was the group. Come on, Xander. Young Mr. Graham. He's tucked in here. Not sure what happens there. Tonight, if we're lucky, we might see the Crosscast come out. Excellent. I shall get the social media team onto it. Yes, at Full Speed Events we do have a social media team. Basically, nobody lets me loose with social media because I probably will say something I shouldn't, and that means that the team look after it instead. So if you're going to message me, you need to do it on something I'm actually going to pick up. So that is going to be on a messenger platform. Don't add it on the end. Flipping it. Matt could talk for a living. Neil, yeah. Do you know what? I can, oddly enough. I do. Talk for a living. Nothing wrong with that. Only way I can make it. Lots of editing, apparently, from Neil to cut me out of as much of the crosscast as ever. Yeah, so if you want to hear lots of cuts of me being sliced up, listen to the next episode of the crosscast where Neil's finished pressing delete on everything I said. Or on something I've said. We will see. Mr. Nunn, thank you very much. 1 lap to go. We are on 1 more lap to go for our riders. 1 more lap to go. So Rodney in here. So Rodney back in. Do you know, our regulars it's brilliant each time. So great to see the riders on the way through. Mr. Bishop in here as well. Mike Killingsworth on board. Neil Hargreaves, Craig Forrester. Chris Jones on here, Wolfdale Phil again, Stu Bolton in here, Dominic Watson, Velaview. We've got to say a massive thank you to Velaview, of course. We are on 1 full lap done. We've got 1 more lap left to go. Question will be, at what point? At what point are we going to see a little bit of a trigger being pulled? At what point are we going to see the plunger being pushed? Who is going to pull the pin? It's going to be Ross, but when is he going to do it? Power up, not good. Santa, not good to impact. Nonny's got a ghost. It is good if you're right at the front. Ghosts are good on the front only. And definitely not good if you've got the fire socks on. Or you're a beacon like Russ, because guess what? That yellow beacon doesn't disappear when you get ghosted. Not much use for that. So whilst we just wait the trigger from his lordship himself, the one and only Ross Denton, just a couple of quick reminders. Don't forget, join DCG Gang, make sure you do so. Don't forget, we've also got memberships that run from now to the end of the season. Like right the way to the end of April. Covers all the way on DCG and DCG. You get all of the links in before anybody else. Great discounts off everything, extra discount off the 1080 store from the guys at the bottom of your screen, from Continental, Valskind, Halo, Nonna's, Gritty, OTE. Gritty 20% off OTE, 20% off Valskind, 10% off Halo, and extra discount off the already ridiculously cheap prices at 1080. So make sure that you support the people who support the gang. Jump on board, join the gang, get those discounts, be in with a chance of winning on the giveaways as well. Really is good value for money. A lot of people getting more than their membership back over the course of certainly for a month's worth. I think it was 1 in 4 won the equivalent of a month's membership worth of OTE in the first month of this season alone. We have given away literally tens of thousands of pounds worth of prizes, and December's no exception. You can pick anything: a pair of Katos, a set of frog skins. You could be going for anything that is still available. You can order it on the way through. And make sure you jump on Russ's post, because Russ with a really interesting post about his experiences with Oakley. And one of our, if you haven't heard the news, I don't really want to be the one to break it to you, but we are seeing the end of a bit of an era for one set of shades, as won by a certain G on the way through. Not Gareth, the other G, the one that isn't a ghost. Right, Mr. Pillsworth still holding the back of this group. Interesting to see the bunch sort of flicking its way all the way out and across the road there. I think more gremlins just in the middle. At least we dropped a bit of water on them. At the moment, Neil tucked in nicely. Mr. Dalglish, not sure where he is. That was a very interesting moment there. Currently showing us 18 seconds off, not quite sure. And the go has gone. Here we go. The pressure is on our riders. Now is the time to make your way up to the front. We're riding in with Dale Williams as he jumps aboard the Go Express. That's a long way out. We're coming in to the centre, into the Oasis. This is going to be the moment where things get interesting. We've got Saxton up there, Williams in there. We've got Xander Graham's made his way up. These lightweight riders should have a chance now if they can stay with the group. If you're a big engine, now is the time to take those climbers apart. Give yourself a bit of a chance when we come into Titans Grove. Don't leave it to the downhill or the sprint in. Give it a kick. Now, the front group just on the way out. We're going to just try and take a little bit of a run back for the red bus very quickly. Although it's going to take a little bit of getting there. You can just see the Wharfdale Phil on the back of this group. Bobby Mason just trying to keep contact. Come on, Bobby. Squeeze, kid. Now's the time. Looks like Lowe doing exactly the same. Now is the time to push. It will save you so many watts, so much distance later. Chris, get on the back. It is worth sprinting, I promise you. Nat Collins, Mr. Lynch, give it a bit of beans, mate. This is where you've got to try and get in. If this group can get on there, you're going to be in with a chance. Karen Brooks in here as well. Now, Greg Pillsworth. Greg has got a bit of a group here. He's got Gibbo in here. Not like Gibbo, actually, to be on the bus, to be fair. Mark Johnson in here. Looks like Jim Flynn in here. Mr. Dalgleish coming up from behind. He's actually our last rider on the course. But I think, Ada, you should be able to get into that group. And then that group has a bit of work to do if it wants to get up to the very front, because that was a very mean, very, very mean, a little bit of a pull of the trigger. Tom Haggart up in with this main group at the moment. So Barry Murphy tucked in nicely in that leading group. Chris Canham in here as well. Looks like Wild's in here. So some good riding here. Lawrence Coyle tucked in the group. This is the moment when you've got to push. You can see they've got Vin Donohoe in here. We've got Mr. Hargreaves tucked on board as well. So Neil being taken by surprise. That'll be because he's trying to simultaneously edit a crosscast and ride the Chaingang. So Russ to swap the cap for a headband. Interesting moment. That'll be a great look on social media later. So let's take a little bit of a look. I'm just working our way down through this group. And I make it, we've got 68 riders, 69 riders, maybe 69 riders in the leading pack. So 69 riders in the leading bunch of riders. And at the moment, as we've just gone to the back, the front is splitting slightly here. Splitting, not spitting. You don't all have to come in and get your biscuits out your brew. So who has had a little bit of a dig? It's going to be Xander Graham, Vin Donohoe, Dale Williams and Paul Simon. Oh, that's a neat little group. So late joint minute clock was only saying 28 minutes to Neil and caught him out a little bit there. Yeah, that's one thing to remember if you are a late joining rider. So Vin and Dale, Paul, all being pulled back and caught back in again. Meanwhile, I'm sure we've seen Mr. Kennedy just decide, do you know what, let's have a little stretch of legs. Hal on his way off the front of this group, just stretching his legs out, but the chance is that this pack are going to come back together again. But if some of these big engines have a flyer off the front, then it's going to be on the way through. So let's say there you go. So down past the pinball machines, down past the arcades we go. We're heading in towards the Neon City Tuck down in here, the Mini Vegas satellite. Also something akin, something of a Area 51 film as well, just coming in and through. As we make our way down into town, you can see that group still losing the odd body off the back. Remember, it had gone down to 69 riders, I think, and I think it's just about holding at that. I'm going to just keep a check. It actually says 70 at the moment. It shows you people yo-yoing in and out. At the moment, that group riding very strongly indeed. The smart money, of course, staying off the front, conserving their energy until they need it. And it's going to be very easy for these riders to end up in trouble. It looks like Russ not content on leaving things alone at the moment, just stirring things up on the front of the group once again. Sure, I saw the socks being engaged there. So looks like Russ at the moment just winding things up a little bit before we get into the pure climb. And before we can let the climbers maybe take to the front and take flight, the mountain goats will be wanting to spring away on the ascent. And those that a bit more like myself will be looking to go clear over the top and onto the descent. So here we go, the gang heading on to the climb. 1 or 2 people being distanced, and now we start to see that little bit of a kick on the front. This is where the lighter riders can start to open up a gap. It's Tom Lindley who started to stretch his legs, but Simon Oxenham very quickly onto the heels of Lindley here. Dale Williams, Greg Booker up here, Isaac Oliver, Russ down in, Adi Dencher, James West in here, Sam Emsley moving up, Don Watts doing the same here. Isaac Oliver goes on to the front, and I don't think it's going to be for long. He's overtaken them by Adi Dench, who's leading this group out. He's got Saxton right with him as well. Over the top comes Kennedy now, and it's still churning at the front. They're still seeing that revolving door going around and around, but the faster it goes, the more likely our riders are going to be spat out of the back. We're just going to take a little bit of a look now. We're in 1s and 2s. Chopping, Neil from the crosscast, Mr. Wilson. Lots of cyclocross in his legs, maybe just taking its effect. Our lap counter, Matt Nunn being distanced, Tunnicliffe. Barry Murphy now in trouble. Time to push, Barry. You're going to be in trouble. You've got to stay in with this group. This is a critical moment on the way to the top of that climb. Looks like Richardson. Harry Hudson. Harry, what are you doing back there? Nice young man. One of our regular winners, but of course could well be in the middle of a massive training block or something similar. Not like him to be distanced off the group at this stage, or any stage for that matter. Just taking a little bit of a run back. Pearson, Wimble, Gale, Amble, Donahoe just further back. This group are spread across the side of the hillside here. Russ still just about tucked into that leading group here. He's in with the front of the ride at the moment. And if we get our drone camera just up and above our riders, you can see behind this group there are going to be plenty of riders in talk. As we go over the top of the rise, gap opens. It comes and compresses. We go in, compresses our drone as we go through the trees too. So here we go on the descent. Gap opens, go on to the ascent, gap closes. Onto the descent, it opens. Unfortunately for anyone behind, the gap opens more than it closes, and then you end up in trouble. That's even on the uphills. That tends to be the case. That's because this group is pushing hard at the moment. You can see Xander Graham on the front, along with Don Watts moving up there. These riders really working out. Looks like Richie Woodall, not all that far off this group as well. Lindley's tucked in. Barry Murphy in here as well. Russ just holding on to the group. Now, remember, we've got riders scattered all the way through. Greg just at the back. Lord Greg Pillsworth, his lordship from the DCG. A little bit further back, just trying to make sure that everybody can get into the finish, working as the group is key. Particularly, remember, as we come off the top of the climb, down through Titans Grove, and we start to head down into towards the flat section in. What's going to be really interesting is what happens behind the leading riders, because we've got groups. You can see the dot to dot on your screen at the moment. If we take the camera in and then just bounce it out a touch, and you've got to be quick watching this because they're going to drop. But we've got about what must be 15 different groups. There you go, disappear like magic. So about 15 different groups behind our leaders, and that is causing the riders to struggle to find people because they are much more spread out than necessarily you'd normally found. That was a very, very interesting pull of the trigger by Russell. Very interesting go. The riders at the moment in the little bit of a dip before the final rise up to the top of Titans Grove. Russ keeping this group together, But remember, when this trigger was pulled before we came onto the climb, this was 69, 70 riders or so. We are now looking at 26. Yep, 26 riders left in this group at the moment. Maybe 27 if you're really only. I think it's 26. Yeah, 26 riders in the group. Then it's 8 seconds back to Neil from the Crosscast, Tom Crapper, Matt Nunn, Ted Tunnicliffe, Gary Sharp, going to be Simon Runnett, Steve Wilson, Keith Richardson, John Hind, Harry Hudson, Ian Bale. All these riders at the moment just distanced from that leading group of 26. Tom Eastman in here as well. It looks like Sarah Luthway in currently 37th spot. But remember, that was a group of nearly 70 riders. It has been decimated with 25 riders or so, 26 riders left in that group. The question is anybody going to take this on as we go over the climb? Getting your timing right here is pretty critical, because if you're going to go on this climb, you've got to get away just at the right moment. Go too early, you're in trouble. Go too late, you won't be able to make a big enough gap as you go through. So just watching, we've got Gareth Mason in here in the black of the Ghost, rather than in his more familiar red outfit that some of you may have seen him in the past, in a previous life. Now Mason, of course, a super fast rider, not just on DCG but generally. Also, of course, the man who's notorious for ghosting his way clear at the right moment. He's ridden more Chaingangs, more riding-ons with than most people do, and he's a rider who clearly has sort of put that competitive urges into riding strongly on the Chaingang. But now the pressure comes on. We're starting to see Oliver, looks like Phil and Isaac, just starting to wind it on the front here. We can see a little bit of tag teams going from the Olivers here. Simonite quickly onto the wheels. Kennedy, Mason, the fat cyclist, Ollie Saxton, Russ Downing, Dale Williams, Greg Booker very quickly in and attentive. And those gaps have definitely opened up here. Now the rider just starting to be distanced. Looks like the elastic has now, to use that well hackneyed phrase, Barry Murphy just distanced. If you see his Hulk-like arms and forearms and calves, so clearly a rider who was always going to have a moment here where he had to produce a lot more power than the rest to stay in with this group. But look at the gaps that are opening up now. You've got Russ on the front on a bit of a mission. He's got up to Clayton here. So Clayton at the moment from Skylab. Another one coming off the front of this group. He's been hiding out of the way, Matt Clayton, for a long time. He's just gone over the top there of that little rise. Who's he dragging clear? Is he going to drag anybody clear? You can see Russ in pursuit at the moment. Booker's doing the same. Dale Williams, and Clayton's attack here has opened up the gap to the riders behind. Now the question will be, can anybody bring him back? It's going to be very interesting to see if the riders like Simon Oxenham can pull back the riders in front. We're going to see if that's going to be the case. Well, Clayton, one of our younger riders who's just up at the front, currently about one of our sort of early 20s riders. Clearly got a little bit of zip in his legs at the moment. He's got an aero on the way down here, so he's opening the gap. He's opened up. It's not Damien Clayton, it's Matt Clayton this time round. So interesting to see that Harry Hudson, when he could talk, was saying recovering from a nasty cold, not pushing hard today. Exactly, mate. Take it nice and steady. So Clayton taking the climb on the way up over there in the men's competition. Sarah Luthwaite did the same in the women's competition as they go up and over. Clayton dropping down here. Sam Emsley leading the pursuit. They've got the gap down to 3 seconds here. They're having to work pretty hard at the moment, but as you can see, we have a little bit of a split just starting to open up between our riders. Let's see if we can get our drone camera up to give us a little bit better, clearer view of this. So the yellow beacon group is distanced at the moment behind this chase group. This chasing group at the moment is going to number of about 2, 4, 6, 7 riders. 7. if my maths is correct. My counting skills are up to scratch, and I've managed to add in a couple from my right to my left hand. So we've got 7 riders chasing 1, and then behind them you've got what's left of the peloton, and then behind them is going to be a Russ, in fact. So looks like these gaps really start to open, and Russ now takes the foot off the throttle. He was ripping it up to really start to wind this up on the front, but as you can see, this is scary, scary stuff. So it is Clayton leading, then it is Oliver. So Russ ripped it up early, and then now he's just having to back off the pace. He's at 3.9 watts per kilo. I think that group just ripping Russ off the back of that group. That was quite scary stuff. The pace and the speed that they're going. In fact, he's just had his first power drop out for a long time. So really interesting to see how they've gone on. I've just been joined by the women's yellow beacon of old at the moment. So women's yellow, the YDCG yellow and red beacon head honcho. That is Emma, just coming in to keep an eye on what's going on. And fortunately, Emma, a bit like Russ, rarely experiences dropouts, particularly power dropouts, but that has left Russ with a massive chase to do. It's left the door wide open as they go through, and at the moment as they head down here, this chasing group are working. They were working to close down Mr. Clayton. They have done that. So Matt Clayton closed back down after opening a gap over the top. The 22-year-old closed down by the rest of the riders. But look at the pace they're traveling, the speed of these riders at the moment. And this really is a who's who of the Donny Chaingang as these riders make their way down this descent. So Clayton back in the group here. Lindley in there as well. It's 7 seconds back then to the group. The chasing group, which is Sander Graham and A.D. Dench. Then 45 seconds to West Woodall, Watts, Muncaster. Russ not all that far off that pace as well. Just going to jump in with them, I think. Then we've got the Hargreaves group with Richardson, Crapper, Davidson, Nunn, Ratcliffe in there, Wilson in there, Neil from the crosscast, Harry Hudson. Harry, you may be taking it easy if you've had a cold, mate. Don't do anything daft. Then it's going to be Maine, Bolton, Luthwaite, Bale, Scriven. Then another gap back to the Hagger group with Donahoe and Pearson and co. And then looks like Wallace on his own. Then it's going to be about 11 seconds further back to the group with Rob Wimble in there. Then another 15 seconds back to Mr. Clark and Forbes and co. 14 Langmead as well, just behind that, really working hard as they come over the top. Then it's going to be Canham Bags, Wharfdale Phil, Brett Dowtry's got levers. It looks like Greg Pillsworth, the red bus, just coming to the top of the climb. Absolutely brutal day on the Chaingang, and going to be really interesting to see how this is finished off by this group. So the big man that everybody has thought they needed to mark out, it is Mason in the black. He's been the rider that everybody has been wary of, but I'm surely Clayton, who goes on the attack again, is the rider to watch. He's putting in another dig here. He went clear on the top. He's put one attack in. He's trying to go clear once again. So can Clayton take this out? And you just see that push up in the watch. You can see actually the Yellow Beacon group is not all that far behind. They're onto the Fuego Flats here. So let's see how they're going to go. We're down past the pens already. It means that we're at about 2.2k to the finish. So our riders, of course, 2.4 from the pen to the start. It means that as you go past the end of the road, it's about 2.4 to the finish as you make your way in and through. Clayton with the gap 5 seconds. Now, this is when things get interesting behind, because Clayton is holding 6 watts per kilo. The group, they've got to decide who's going after him. So you've got riders who can sprint and attack, like Williams, like riders like Mason, like Booker, riders who are known for going on the attack. You've got long distance specialists, people like Jimmy Allen, people in there like Paul Simonite, who are maybe more known for going for that long distance. You've got people like Lawrence Coyle, who's good in the climb. You've got Tom Lindley, the youngster, who's always one to watch. And at the moment, I think Lindley choosing to go after Oliver. He's seen Isaac Oliver, another rider who we know can go on the attack sprint and take it away. Oliver has gone on the attack. Lindley is going to go close him down. They're both going after Clayton. So let's see. Clayton is being chased here. And the chase is coming from Isaac Oliver and Tom Lindley. So 2 riders now clear of the bunch, but not by a lot. And look at the damage. It's just strung them straight back out again here as they go in. So this is going to be absolutely nerve-biting stuff. It's incredibly close. We're riding in with Clayton. Isaac Oliver's just put another little dig in. He's the rider who is in no man's land between our leader, a chasing group of 5 riders, and another chase of about another 4 or 5 riders behind. But this is going to be very close indeed. Remember, as we come out from this turn, and we come around this long right-hand bend, the 500 metre to go sign is on the right-hand side in about 2 seconds here. So here we go. 500 metres to go. This is the run to the finish. This is going to be entertaining stuff as they come in and through. So at the moment, they're making their way in. And look at this. Mason's coming. Mason's gone over the top of him. Lindley's trying to close it down. But Mason, has he timed it to perfection? I think he has. But they're trying to respond. Mason, the fat cyclist, the man known as the Ghost, has gone for it. He's in the black. The sprint's coming behind him. Booker's trying to hold him. He's trying to get on him. He could have him on the line here. Booker goes over the top. Greg Booker takes it. He rolls Mason at the line. Williams can't get him. Then it's Lindley, Kennedy, Clayton, Oxenham, Emsley, Allen, Saxton. Then it's going to be the rest of the chase in. I've just about got my breath in one piece. That was some riding there. What a ride by Greg Booker, going over the top of everybody and taking him out. He sprinted over the top. And what a ride by Greg Booker. Greg, chapeau, sir. That was some ride to go take out Mason on the way through. I think his legs have just exploded. Now, next to our riders, it's Eddie Deitch going in. I think Russ offering to lead the next group of riders out into the line here. That means in theory he's going to go pop. Let's see what happens. So Isaac ghosted off. Then Lindley went, but look at this. Russ starts to wind it up to try and get these guys in at pace. And it looks like the man who's going to go with him is going to be Westy. Westy's going to take that. Nice riding in. Russ just leads them in and over the line. It's West. Then Downing, then Watts, then Woodall, then behind Neil from the Crosscast coming into the line just ahead of the Tom Crapper group. So it's Tom, then Keith Richardson, Marty Davidson, Matt Nunn. It looks like Barry Murphy coming through with that group. Huge group of riders. Wilson coming through, Runnett and Hudson as well. Next group are on the way in, and this is going to have our first female finisher on board in the shape, I think, of Sarah Luthwaite. So here we go in for the line. The sprint is unfolding in front. I think it's going to be Ian Bale who's going to lead them in and over the line, being chased hard here by Scriven. So it's Bale followed by Scriven, by Gale, by Main. Then it's going to be Luthwaite. Good riding there by Sarah. Absolutely a brutal course today. Looks like Vin just going to lead out this sprint. Rolled by Dr. D. Tracy, the Terminator, who's going to be in action tomorrow. Tracy going to be our yellow beacon tomorrow. with Joe Munden, our red beacon on the WOW DCG. So Tracy clearly getting those legs warmed up for tomorrow. So another good sprint. So let's take a little bit of a check over the top of these riders. Right, here we go. Let's see who's going to take out the next group into the line. The sprint is starting. Espero just trying to take it out on the way through. He's got Garfoot with him. This is going to be really, really, really close. It's going to be interesting. Ah, look at this. It is Garfoot who takes it from Espero. Then it's going to be Langme, Drogan. Right over, that's Wimble, Forbes, Fulton going through. Clark goes through behind them. I think Dalglish, the next rider on course, is going to be very, very interesting. Well, what a group of riders. We've got some amazing stuff watching this coming in and through. So, 80 Dalglish on his way in. A savage Chaingang today for all our riders. A quick one as well as 80's going to come in. He's got 26 seconds on the chasing group behind him. And it's a pretty big group. Looks like there's going to be 5 riders. Of those 5 riders, got to watch out for Chris Canham. Chris, one of our regular big sprinters when it comes to the finish. You can guarantee he's going to go. There's a reason we just jumped in with him. The question is, has he got anything left after that hill? It does numb the legs of the sprinters on the way through, and you saw that with Mason being rolled on the way through by Booker, who's not a pure sprinter, more of a all-round ruler, regular in the Peak District as well. So here we go. Canham leads this out and takes it out with Hudson, the boy Hoy Tim bags up behind. Then it's going to be Mr. Lynch coming through behind. Then it's going to be Catlin, who's going to come in and through the line ahead of Paul Malin. Wallace will be our next rider in to the finish here. So Wallace, then Wharfdale Phil, who is ahead of Chris Jones by about 1 second. In fact, it's Wild who's going to bring this group in. Then Jones, followed by Davis. And then we have 111 back to a trio of riders. This is going to be Chris Ball, Brett Dowtry, and Bobby Mason, 3 real gents of the sport on the way in. And great to see these 3 working together. They know how to ride a Chaingang, that's for certain. Then we're going to see Mr. Levers. We've got Lone Rider and Greg Pillsworth, Sir Rodney and co. heading their way in. So still plenty more riders to come into the line. So let's get these next few riders in, and we'll do a little bit of housekeeping and catch up. Catch up, not ketchup. None of the red stuff here. As we move on to get ready for our next one, which is tomorrow again. So next group coming in, Bobby Mason in here. Bobby, one of the real nice guys of cycling. Great to see Bobby in here. One day I'm going to ride with Bobby. I'm actually going to fulfill the fact that we keep on saying we're going to have to go get a ride in together. It will happen at some point. Not sure when, but it's going to happen. Then Chris Ball doing the same, and Brett Dowtry on the way through. And look at this, it looks like it's going to be Chris who's going to lead this out. So Chris has gone for this. Let's see. So 80 getting a drop out at the wrong moment. Bobby on the attack after Chris. Has Bobby got legs in his corner? Bobby, second kick required here. Is he going to have enough? So tight on the line. I think that was Chris Balls. Bobby Mason pushing him all the way. Brett Dowtry sat in that good and just without that last little kick there, that last second there. Next up then it's going to be Martin Levers. Martin trying to keep Lone Rider off his heels here, but I think Lone Rider is going to come through. It is Lone Rider who comes through ahead of Levers. Then behind we have our red beacon group. They're not all that far out. So whilst they head in, let's do some quick housekeeping whilst we're watching Gibbo on our screens. So remember guys, join the DCG gang, help support the gang, help us cover the cost of streaming and all the kit that we use. It's just for the DCG gang. We don't put any of it into the standard broadcast stuff. We need a lot more actually to do the chain gang than basically anything else that we do. So please guys, if you can donate, please do so. Helps Russ, of course, with all his riding and making sure he set that time aside. So please guys, donate if you can. It helps keep the gang together because of the streaming costs and so on. If you do so, we say thank you. Big discounts from the guys up there, including, of course, giveaways into this month's giveaway on 1080 months. It is for 3 custom pairs of Oakleys, whether you want to get yourself some glasses like these or you want some shades. Available, and you can have whatever you want if you're one of our 3 lucky winners. Right, here we go. Next ride on its way in. Who's going to take this out? I think Greg's going to lead this out. Can anybody stay on Greg's wheel? Greg Pilsworth have got a massive sprint now. I just see 10 watts per kilo come out of Greg. So Rodney's kicking at over 10 watts per kilo here to try and close him down. But I think Greg just getting the drop on Sir Rodney. Then it's going to be Jim Flynn. Then it's going to be Homer and Gibbo coming in. Got to say a massive thank you to Greg Pilsworth. Greg, our red beacon tonight. And Greg just making his way in and along. So as our red beacon heads in and across, a couple of last things. Don't forget, please, guys, make sure you sign up nice and early. Wow DCG tomorrow. If you're not able to ride because you're not one of our women-only Wednesday riders, do give it a watch, subscribe on YouTube or on the Facebook group. So on the Downing Cycling or Full Speed Events YouTube pages or the Facebook page for the Donny Chaingang. Don't forget, of course, give Full Speed Events Downing Cycling a follow on social media. Russ Downing, Matt Fixer Bain, Biking Emma, any of those or all of those would be really, really good. It's really appreciated. It really, really does help the more followers we get. It's really simple. The more leverage we get to put more rides on. It's dead simple. So please, guys, make sure you give it a follow. We are back tomorrow for the WOW DCG. There'll be no broadcast Thursday. No broadcast Thursday. Going to be travelling out to the service course out in France. So we're going to be heading out there on Thursday. Please make sure you're back with us next week. We've got 3 more great rides. And then we're into that period between Christmas and New Year, including a guest rider, a Z-lister, who is going to be leading the ride on the 27th. Yours truly going to be leading the ride with, I think, Emma on the broadcast, with Russ watching and laughing, or maybe even jumping on and giving me a hard time. We'll see. So lots more great stuff coming up. Don't forget, of course, we've also got that giveaway for our 3 pairs of custom Oakleys. So as Greg makes his way in, make sure you support the people who support the Chaingang. They're over there on that side with some great discounts. They look after everybody. Please remember, get subscribed on. We are going to take a quick break. We're back tomorrow with more Chaingang goodness on the WOW DCG. So from Russ, from myself, Matt Payne, and everybody on the Chaingang, stay safe. We'll see you soon again. Bye-bye.